No one in Bangkok recognized his face. Not the promoters who controlled the fights, not the hardened warriors who ruled the ring, not the veteran trainers who had spent their lives inside brutal Muay Thai camps, and certainly not the woman standing beneath the hot lights of the ring, her fists wrapped, her record untouched, undefeated in 47 professional fights. Bruce Lee was only 17 years old. He carried no belt, no fame, no official victories. Just a thin Chinese teenager from Hong Kong who had stepped into the most feared fighting ground in Southeast Asia. To everyone watching, he didn't belong there. To everyone watching, this would end badly for him, or at least that's what they believed. What unfolded over the next 11 minutes would become one of the most whispered about moments in Bangkok's fighting history. A moment retold in gyms, remembered by fighters, and passed down through generations who never forgot what they heard. This is what truly happened on the night of November 14, 1958. This is the night Bangkok would remember forever. Bangkok, Thailand. November 14, 1958. The city breathed heat even after sunset. Humidity clung to the air like an invisible weight, wrapping itself around every street, every rooftop, every human body that moved beneath the flickering yellow lamps. This was not Hong Kong. This was older, harder. Bangkok was a city where fighting was not entertainment. It was survival. It was an honor. It was an identity. 6 days earlier, a cargo freighter had cut through the dark waters of the South China Sea and carried a quiet passenger toward this unforgiving place. Bruce Lee was 17 years old, thin, restless, unknown. He stood alone at the ship's railing as Bangkok's shoreline emerged from the morning mist, his eyes fixed on a future he could not yet see, but somehow already understood. He had left Hong Kong behind, not because he was forced to, but because staying had become impossible. The streets no longer challenged him. The rooftop fights ended too quickly. Victory came too easily. His teacher, IP Man, had shown him the mechanics of Wing Chun. Precision, efficiency, control. But knowledge inside a classroom was not enough. Knowledge had to be tested in chaos. His father had given him money before he left. Not as a gift, but as a test. Travel, learn, return stronger, or do not return at all. Those words stayed with him during the long nights at sea. They were not instructions, they were a challenge, and Bruce Lee had never refused a challenge in his life. Before reaching Thailand, he had stopped in the Philippines. There, in small training yards hidden behind crowded streets, he met Eskrima practitioners. They fought with sticks that moved faster than the eye could follow. Bruce watched, learned, adapted. In 9 days, he understood rhythms that took others months. Not because he was gifted, because he paid attention. Muay Thai drew him next. Sailors in Hong Kong had spoken about it in quiet voices, not with pride, with caution. They described elbows that split skin, knees that broke ribs, shin kicks that felt like iron rods. They spoke of fighters who trained by striking banana trees until their bones hardened. Bruce listened to every detail. Curiosity replaced hesitation. For 6 days in Bangkok, he did nothing but observe. He visited gym after gym, never announcing himself, never asking questions. He stood in corners, silent, watching fighters move. He studied foot placement, shoulder tension, breathing patterns. He memorized everything. His mind recorded information the way a camera captures light, permanent, precise, unforgiving. On the evening of November 14th, he walked toward Roger Dominion Stadium. The structure rose from the concrete like a monument of violence. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead. Smoke drifted through the entrances. Inside, thousands gathered to witness pain, courage, and survival. Bruce stepped inside quietly, unknown, unnoticed, just another face in the crowd. He smelled sweat and tiger balm, heard gamblers shouting odds, saw fighters preparing in silence. Every detail mattered, every sound, every movement. He was not there to watch. He was there to understand. He did not know it yet, but this night would test everything he believed about fighting, about himself, and about the limits of human possibility. In a city where reputations were built through blood, A 17-year-old boy with no record had arrived searching for truth. Bangkok did not know his name. The fighters did not fear him. The crowd did not see him. But before the night was over, Bangkok would never forget him. He stood there longer than anyone noticed, his eyes fixed on the ring, his breathing slow, controlled. He was not intimidated by the noise or the violence surrounding him. He was studying it, measuring it, preparing himself for something he could feel coming, even if he could not yet define it. This was not a chance, this was the beginning. Somewhere beyond the lights and smoke, destiny waited patiently. It did not announce itself. It did not warn him. It simply waited for him to step forward. And Bruce Lee, the unknown seeker from Hong Kong, was already walking toward it, one silent step at a time. The ring would soon reveal who he truly was that night in Bangkok. Her name was Sierra Cusi, but in Bangkok no one called her that anymore. Names were for ordinary people. Names were for those who could be forgotten. She had earned something else, something permanent, something earned through pain and repetition and dominance. They called her the Scorpion. She stood alone beneath the harsh white lights of Roger Dominion Stadium on November 14, 1958, 24 years old. 68 meters tall, 61 kilograms of hardened precision. Her body carried no excess, no softness. Every muscle had been forged through 15 years of violence disguised as discipline. Her record was simple: 47 fights, 47 victories, 38 knockouts, no defeats, no draws, no mercy. She'd begun fighting at 9 years old in a Muay Thai camp outside Chiang Mai, not by choice. Her father had owed money. Debt was not negotiable. Payment came in the form of his daughter. The camp owner accepted her without emotion. Children arrived like this all the time. Some survived, some disappeared. The camp did not care which. Training began before sunrise. Hours of running barefoot on dirt roads, knees striking heavy bags until the skin split open, elbows driven into sand-filled tires until the bones hardened. Pain was not an obstacle. Pain was proof of progress. The other children cried. Sierra did not. She learned quickly that emotion wasted energy. Energy was survival. By 12, she was no longer training with girls. There was no point. She had already surpassed them. The trainers moved her to the boys' group, larger opponents, stronger bodies, faster resistance. It did not matter. She adapted. Her techniques sharpened. Her strikes carried intent beyond her years. She did not hesitate. Hesitation was a weakness. At 14, she entered her first professional fight. The opponent underestimated her. Everyone did. The fight ended in less than 1 minute. Her elbow opened a deep cut across her opponent's face. Blood fell onto the canvas in thick drops. The crowd did not react immediately. They needed time to understand what they had witnessed. When they did, they cheered. She continued fighting, winning, improving, destroying expectation after expectation. By 18, there were no female opponents left willing to face her. Promoters adjusted. She began fighting men. The first man laughed when he saw her. The laughter ended quickly. He left the ring unconscious, his nose broken beyond recognition. Others followed. Larger men, experienced men, confident men, none left with victory. Her record expanded. Her reputation grew. She became something more than a fighter. She became a warning. But her most dangerous weapon was not her elbow, not her knee, not her shin. It was her mind. She watched opponents before the fight began, studied their posture, their breathing, their eyes. She understood fear before they admitted it to themselves. She smiled when they struck her. She laughed when their strongest attacks failed. She dismantled their confidence piece by piece until their bodies followed their minds into defeat. Promoters recognized her value, none more than Sam Chai, a wealthy Bangkok businessman with gold rings on every finger and vision behind his eyes. He understood spectacle, he understood fear, and he understood money. On the night of November 14, he offered a challenge, 10,000 baht, to anyone who could survive 3 rounds with Sierra Cusi. Not win, not defeat her, simply survive. In 1958, 10,000 baht could sustain a man for a year. It was a temptation few could ignore. One by one, fighters accepted. One by one, fighters failed. The first lasted less than a minute. A knee strike ended his resistance. The second collapsed after a single elbow. The third never recovered from a shin kick to the ribs. Others followed the same pattern. Confidence entered the ring. Silence left it. The crowd watched with growing certainty. This was not a competition. This was inevitable. Between fights, Sierra stood calm and unaffected. Her breathing remained steady, her expression unchanged. She did not celebrate. Victory was expected. Victory was routine. Around her, thousands watched with admiration and fear. They were witnessing perfection in its most dangerous form. An undefeated force. A fighter who had never experienced defeat and no longer expected it to exist. Inside Roger Dominion Stadium, beneath unforgiving lights and suffocating heat, Sierra Cusi waited for the next challenger. She did not know his name. She did not know his story. She only knew that, like the 47 before him, he would fall. November 14, 1958, 9:15 p.m. Roger Dominion Stadium was alive. More than 3,000 spectators packed a concrete structure beneath its low-metal roof. Heat lingered in the air, trapped beneath the fluorescent lights that buzzed overhead. Cigarette smoke floated in thick blue layers, blurring the outlines of faces and bodies. The smell of sweat mixed with tiger balm and spilled beer. This was not comfortable. This was a ritual. Money moved constantly through the crowd. Hands passed folded bills. Voices shouted odds in rapid Thai. Every eye focused on the ring at the center of the stadium. That was where truth lived. That was where illusion died. Inside the ropes stood Sierra Cusi, still calm, still untouched. 7 challengers had entered that ring already. 7 had fallen. None had lasted longer than 2 minutes. Her breathing remained steady. Her shoulders relaxed. She was not tired. She was waiting. At ringside, Somkai stepped forward. His gold rings reflected the harsh white light as he raised a microphone. His voice echoed through the stadium, sharp and confident. 10,000 baht, he announced. To anyone who can survive 3 rounds. The words spread instantly. 10,000 baht. Enough to change a life. Enough to buy escape. Enough to turn fear into courage. Somkai scanned the audience slowly. Is there anyone left? He asked. Or has Bangkok run out of fighters? The crowd responded with laughter. Some shook their heads, others avoided eye contact. They had already seen what happened to the others. Survival was not worth permanent damage. Seconds passed. No movement, no volunteers. Then from the back of the stadium a voice spoke. I'll do it. It was calm, young, certain. The people nearest the voice turned first, then others followed. The movement spread like a ripple across water. Standing on a concrete step was a thin Chinese teenager wearing a plain white undershirt and dark trousers. He did not look like a fighter. He looked like a student. Somkai stared at him, confused. You? He asked. The teenager nodded. How old are you? 17. The reaction was immediate. Laughter erupted across the stadium, thousands of voices blending into one sound. Some points, others shook their heads in disbelief. This was absurd. This was entertainment beyond expectation. Somkai smiled, amused. And what do you practice? Wing Chun. The unfamiliar words hung in the air. They meant nothing here. Muay Thai was the language of violence in Bangkok. Foreign arts were stories, nothing more. Somkai tilted his head. How many professional fights? The teenager answered without hesitation. None. The laughter returned, louder this time, more confident. This was no longer tension. This was a comedy. But not everyone was laughing. 3 rows from the ring sat a man named Rupert Kin, a businessman from Hong Kong. He leaned forward slowly, his eyes narrowing. He recognized the boy immediately. He had seen him before. I had heard stories, had witnessed something others here could not understand. Rupert Kin said nothing, but he did not laugh. The teenager began walking toward the ring. The crowd parted instinctively, creating a path. Some mocked him openly, Others watched with curiosity. He climbed over the ropes without assistance, without hesitation. Bruce Lee had entered the ring. The lights were brighter inside. The air is hotter. The noise is louder. Across from him stood Sierra Cusi. She looked at him for the first time, really looked. She saw narrow shoulders, thin arms, no visible threat. Her expression remained calm, but her eyes studied him carefully. Bruce Lee said nothing. He simply stood there, relaxed, breathing evenly. They faced each other in silence, fighter and stranger, predator and unknown. Around them, the crowd continued laughing. They believed they already understood how this would end. But neither Bruce Lee nor Sierra Cusi shared that belief. In that moment, beneath the unforgiving lights of Roger Dominion Stadium, something shifted. Not in the crowd, not in the noise, in the space between them. For the first time that night, Sierra Cusi was not looking at a victim. She was looking at a question. The bell rang. The crowd's laughter erupted, expecting another quick spectacle. But the arena was about to witness something no one could have predicted. Sierra Cusi moved first, stalking her prey with the measured patience of a seasoned Muay Thai predator. Her hands stayed high, chin tucked tight. A teep shot forward, a push kick aimed at Bruce Lee's chest. He shifted slightly to the side, just enough to make her miss. Another teep, another miss. Every step he took was unexpected, unpredictable. She had trained for years to read linear attacks, to control the distance. This boy, this child, did not behave as expected. She closed the distance, seeking the plumb clinch, the grip that had ended countless men's careers. Her hands clasped the back of his head. Bruce's forearms met hers, not with brute force, but with subtle redirection. She tried again. The boy's hands moved like water, slipping, guiding, nullifying her power. Every clinch attempt failed. The impossible was happening. He rendered her most reliable technique useless. Sierra's eyes narrowed. She shifted strategy, resorting to strikes, jabs, crosses, knees. Each attack was precise, honed by years of training, capable of ending this fight in moments. Bruce Lee met them with calm calculation, his body reacting before the strike arrived. He leaned, deflected, absorbed force at angles she hadn't anticipated, and then he demonstrated something extraordinary. A straight punch shot forward, stopping a single centimeter from her nose. The wind from the strike brushed her face, not enough to harm, but enough to shock. The crowd fell silent. The laughter had died, replaced by disbelief. The scorpion struck harder. A roundhouse kick, fully committed, swung like a baseball bat. Bruce's forearm met the kick, not blocking, not absorbing fully, but angling, redirecting, dissipating the force. The crowd gasped. This was no longer a street fight. This was artistry, strategy, physics in motion. Each move spoke of intention, knowledge, and control. Bruce stepped forward, his right hand fired at her shoulder, not to harm but to disrupt. Sierra staggered. 2 steps and the entire arena realized something. No one had ever made the undefeated Scorpion stumble. She recovered instantly, eyes blazing. Pride, disbelief, anger, emotions warring across her face. Her strikes grew more chaotic, more unpredictable. Elbows, knees, punches, kicks, all aimed to overwhelm. Bruce moved differently with every exchange. Close when she sought distance, angled when she advanced, gentle when she struck hard, fast when she surged. He wasn't better, he was different, and the difference was dangerous. Minutes passed. The first round ended. Bruce returned to his corner, no stool, no water, only his calm breathing. Pain shot through his thigh from a knee strike, sharp, professional pain. Yet his mind catalogued, analyzed, prepared. He had never fully understood Wing Chun until this moment. The art of the underdog, designed to let the smaller defeat the larger, revealed itself fully in the chaos of a Thai ring. The second round began. Sierra adapted. Instead of combinations, she used singular, precise attacks, elbows, knees, strikes from angles no man had dared attempt. Blood appeared, cutting above Bruce's left eye. The stadium erupted. But Bruce did not falter. Pain met precision. He narrowed his stance, kept his hands closer to his center line, integrating offense and defense simultaneously. Every movement communicated a lesson, a possibility, a restraint. Bruce had not come to defeat. He had come to learn, to test, to teach. And now, as the Scorpion unleashed her most feared weapon, a right elbow that had felled 23 opponents, Bruce caught it mid-air. His right hand hovered 1 centimeter from her throat, a silent declaration. He could end this, but he chose restraint. Sierra paused. Something had changed. The amusement was gone. The certainty of victory had evaporated. For the first time, the undefeated fighter recognized intelligence, skill, and precision in her opponent. A reluctant respect formed, fragile yet undeniable. In 11 minutes, Bruce Lee had transformed from a skinny, unknown teenager into a force that even Thailand's deadliest fighter could not dismiss. In those moments, the audience witnessed more than a fight. They witnessed a psychological revolution. Respect had been established, skill had been measured, and the stage was set for a young boy to begin the journey that would make the world remember his name. In Bangkok, on that night of November 14, 1958, something extraordinary happened. The Scorpion paused before the dragon, and the dragon smiled. The fight had ended, but the battle lingered in the minds of both combatants. Silence hung in the Roger Dominion Stadium as spectators processed what they had just witnessed. Bruce Lee and Sierra the Scorpion Cusi stood across the ring, breathing steadily, their bodies marked by exertion, their eyes reflecting understanding. No words were needed. In that glance, respect passed silently between them, two warriors recognizing skill, discipline, and courage in its purest form. Bruce remained in Bangkok for 3 more days, not as a visitor but as a student and observer. He returned to the gyms and quiet studios, moving with purpose. Sierra, too, had been affected. For the first time, a student of hers moved with precision that challenged her assumptions, a different kind of danger, controlled, subtle, and deadly. The exchanges between them became lessons rather than contests. In a small Muay Thai studio tucked away on a side street, the two trained side by side. Sierra demonstrated the mechanics of her elbows, the subtleties of hip rotation for maximum knee force, the generation of power from angles others could not anticipate. Bruce absorbed it all, his eyes lighting up not with awe but with calculation. Within hours, he could replicate strikes that normally took months to master, not perfectly, but with understanding of the principle behind each movement. Bruce, in turn, shared the principles of Wing Chun, his sensitivity and his reflex-driven centerline theory. Sierra felt pressure, direction, and intent not through sight, but through touch. Each motion became a language, a dialogue of intention. She closed her eyes, letting him move her arms, guiding her reflexes to feel rather than see every adjustment. In those hours, a bridge between two martial arts was built, a fusion of knowledge, observation, and understanding. Bruce approached combat scientifically, analyzing each movement, each pivot, each strike. Force, mass, and acceleration, the physics of the human body, became his tools. Every punch, every knee, every elbow was not just an attack but an experiment, a lesson catalogued for the future. The foundations of Jeet Kune Do, the art he would one day create, began quietly in these interactions, in these hours of mutual study and subtle confrontation. By the end of his stay, the two warriors parted with silent acknowledgement. Bruce Lee would continue his journey across Asia, refining, testing, and evolving. Sierra Cusi would return to her stadiums unbeaten, yet changed by the boy who had faced her without fear. Their encounter, brief in minutes but immense in impact, had sown seeds that would ripple through martial arts history. In Bangkok, November 1958, the world had glimpsed the beginning of a transformation. The dragon and the scorpion had met, not merely as fighter and opponent, but as catalysts for one another's evolution. And in that crucible of respect and discipline, the legend of Bruce Lee, the boy who would become the dragon, took another essential step forward. The night ended quietly, but its echoes would endure for decades. Proof that true mastery begins not in victory alone, but in recognition of skill, wisdom, and the courage to face the unknown.